What's going on, guys? Welcome to Picks Nation. My name is Jacob, aka the Freckled Salamander, here to bring you my full card breakdown for UFC 294. But before we get into the full card breakdown, make sure you like the video, subscribe if you are new, because we are here on the sister channel of We Want Picks. Make sure you go to We Want Picks channel, subscribe to that channel as well. You might be wondering, Jacob, why are you uploading on this channel? Because I was told to. Don't ask another stupid question. Make sure you go to WeWantPicks.com. Consider becoming a premium member. It is only $10 a month. It'll tell you everything that comes with that premium membership. It's a beautiful website. Let's get right into the action. Full card breakdown for UFC 294. Like the first up, we got Bruno Silva versus Sharabutdin. I think it's okay to call him Shara. I'm not trying to disrespect anyone, but there's no chance I am saying that first name correctly. So it's Shara versus Bruno. And I'll be honest with you guys, when I first started seeing highlights of this guy Shara on TikTok, I didn't think he was real. I still don't think this is a real person until I see him in the UFC octagon on Saturday. I thought it was AI generated. I saw this video of the walkout and it looked like he had UFC gloves on. I'm like, oh yeah, this was definitely an AI generated, like, Russian crazy dude. This guy is an absolute real guy, is what they tell me. And I think this guy's legit. I know a lot of people are going to be like, oh, he hasn't fought anybody. He hasn't fought anyone. I think the love of competition is a little bit better than people give him credit for. And you're going to see the Russian. You're going to hear all about the... Not a wrestler. This guy is a kickboxer and very slick with his striking. He is going to be the better striker in this matchup. That's as simple as this matchup can be. The issue is Bruno Silva is always going to be live for that knockout. He's always going to have that power. And Brendan Allen in that last fight almost gave him that opportunity by getting in those, what they call car crashes, right? Those just in the pocket. They're both throwing heavy. If Shara can stay out of the car crashes, out of the in the pocket, big exchanges, stay at distance, Bruno is going to give him opportunities to get hurt. And it should be a Shara play all the way. If he just kind of dances around, picks his spots, and he seems like that type of guy. He doesn't seem like that type of guy that's really going to go in for the big knockout. I think his UFC debut, I know a lot of people are expecting a lot from him. He's going to take his time. Bruno will make the mistakes, and he should be able to pick him apart and put him away. Maybe even in the second round could be the value there. So my play is Shara. Let's move on to the next one. Jinh Frey versus Victoria. And you guys know, if you guys don't know, I have my own personal biases against Victoria. She was against my lock of the week, Estela Nunes. Estela Nunes was lighting her ass up, fell down, broke her arm. It is what it is. In this matchup, it's going to be a Victoria play, right? I mean, she's a minus 600 favorite. She's got the wrestling. She should be able to do enough for a couple rounds to win 2 rounds, get the decision win, get the hell out of there. But I will say this, and I just want to warn people a little bit, just put a little bit of warning. We've seen these decision-type female fighters blow shit in the past. I mean, how many times in the past few weeks? We just saw it last week with Jennifer Maia, and now we have a minus 600 favorite. And if you watch Victoria's... I almost said Victoria's Secrets. If you watch Victoria's Secrets Contender Series fight, I know that she blew out her knee, but she also had, I would consider a little bit of a fatigue issue in that third round as well. So this could be, if she doesn't clearly win the first 2 rounds, and one of these rounds is wishy-washy, and we're in the third round of this fight, there could be some people clutching their pearls with her in every single parlay. So in my mind, women's MMA, anything can happen. It's probably a decision. I would stay away, but Victoria should be the play. I'm a little bit biased. Maybe don't listen to me. I know how to, but she is beautiful. I mean, I'll be honest with you. She is like, hey, Victoria, man, we can put our differences aside. I know I picked against Nathaniel Wood versus Mohammad Naimov. I think it's Naimov. Again, these names, I'm from Indiana, man. I don't know how to pronounce any of these names. I'm going to say Nathaniel Wood versus Mohammad. And this one is very, very interesting. I think Nathaniel Wood's probably the better overall fighter, right? Nice, clean boxing, really good counter striking, has some slick takedowns, and pretty good on the ground as well. And I think it's going to be kind of the wrestling and grappling that he's going to want to lean on in this fight versus Mohammad, because this dude Mohammad is going to came in on, 5-6 days notice, up in weight versus a Jamie Malarkey, who also is very well-rounded, a very good boxer, good rush, showed off some decent takedown defense. I know he was taken down a few times, but got to his feet and showed the absolute resilience and power that he can bring into the fight. Nathaniel Wood is a 135er coming to 145. He's been there for a few fights, but this is a smaller guy. And Mohammad Naimov is not a small guy for 145. And I'm telling you right now, Nathaniel Wood gets hit. You saw him get dropped twice versus Feely, almost got put out by Feely. He got hurt versus Jourdain. This guy gets hit because he gets in your face with his high shell like this, and he tries to counter-strike off that high shell. But when he's standing like this and he starts counter-striking, he leaves himself exposed in the pocket. And yeah, he gets the better of exchanges more often than not, but he gets hit a lot. And a guy that's already been chinned a few times at 145 against a big, powerful guy in Mohammad just spells recipe for disaster. The only issue here for Mohammad that I worry about, and we saw it a few times last week, we've seen it a lot lately, the leg kicks of Nathaniel Wood. That is going to be maybe the difference maker in this fight. I'm hoping that Mohammad has a little bit of a range, can kind of time that range, time those leg kicks, come in and make him pay with some big shots over the top. It's going to be the leg kicks and possibly the grappling of Nathaniel Wood that should win him this fight. But I'm going with Mohammad Naimov in this with the power advantage. He hits people. When he hits people, he can pull people away. Nathaniel Wood gets hit. He's getting chinned a few times. This could be the moment where the big underdog comes in, smokes the favorite, and we get a big upset on UFC 294. So I'm going Mohammad Naimov for the upset. Anshul Jubli versus Mike Breeden. And listen, I get it, right? I mean, Mike Breeden doesn't have the best chin in the world, can get taken down. Jubli's a good wrestler, and I think the wrestling path is going to be the way here. Go all in on the wrestling early, wear him down, do what you did versus Jekka. By the way, Jekka was my lock of the week, so I know Jubli pretty well. But if this stays on the feet, because Jubli has shown in the past that he's not willing to just go all in on the wrestling. He's kind of hit or miss with that. Hot and cold, I would say. Sometimes he's all in, sometimes he will stand in strike. When he stands in strike, and you saw that a little bit in the Jekka fight, he can get hit. And Mike Breeden's not like a super powerful knockout guy, but his chance in this fight is going to be on the feet. So if you're Anshul Jubli, you're the big favorite. Let's just work in the wrestling. Let's work in the wrestling early. You don't have to telegraph it. You can strike a little bit, but Mike Breeden's probably going to bring the pressure. He's probably going to be in your face. The takedowns will be there. Let's get the takedowns. Let's get the control. Let's get the ground and pound. Passing the guard, passing full mount, ground and pound, just like you did with Jekka. Maybe he gives up his back. You get a submission. Mike Breeden should not be the guy that beats a guy like Anshul Jubli. But the striking is a little bit left to be desired when I see Anshul. So if he decides he wants to strike for 3 rounds, things could get a little bit interesting. But the play here should be Anshul Jubli. He's a very good wrestler. Mike Breeden can get taken down, and Mike Breeden can get knocked out as well. So I'm playing Jubli here. Let's move on to the next one. Dumas versus Azaitar. And I'm saying right now, I know a lot of people are kind of hate on Dumas, saying this guy isn't good, this guy, he's trash, he lost to this, and then last fight, Cody Brundage was just rolling around, pulling guard, blah, blah, blah. I actually think SD, it feels to me like if there was ever a moment for him to break out and shine and get that highlight finish that the UFC seems to be wanting with this matchup, it is going to be in this fight versus Azaitar. Abu is a kind of an old school brawling type dude at 185. He's a small guy, boxy guy. He wants to get in your face. He wants to brawl. He wants to make it dirty boxing, hold you against the cage. And the issue with that is if he was able to do that across 3 rounds, if this guy was a 33-year-old and I knew that he could be dirty and nasty and physical for 3 rounds, probably would pick him in this spot because Dumas is a little bit green, a little bit long, a little bit lengthy. Doesn't look like he has that kind of like grown man strength just quite yet. But the issue is Abu cannot do that for 3 rounds. He will maybe do that for the first round, but then he will start to gas, and SD's got a crazy height advantage, 6'3" versus 5'9". He should be I don't want to say the cleaner striker in this matchup, but definitely the more dynamic striker, and he did show in his last matchup that he can kind of defend the takedowns, but even if he is able to reverse the position, he is pretty good in top position holding those positions. So I know a lot of people are going to try to hate on Dumas. This could end up being the best value on the card. I do have a bet on SD. You can go to WeWantPicks.com to figure out what that bet is, become a premium member. I'm going SD here, man. I think this is the perfect opportunity for him to really shine, get that highlight finish, and then be on a main card somewhere in the United States. So I'm all over Dumas here. Let's move on to the next one. Javid Basharat versus Victor Henry. And again, a lot of these fights are going to be like pretty cut and dry breakdowns. A lot of huge favorites on this card. This is one of those ones where I do worry a little bit. Listen, Javid is the better fighter in this matchup. He's going to have the cleaner striking. He's going to have the wrestling. The wrestling is what he's really going to need. The issue is if he starts forcing the wrestling, he might find himself in a little bit of trouble because Victor Henry is a guy that just kind of nonstop. I mean, he's not going to be the better striker. He's not going to be the better wrestler, but he can defend takedowns. And if he just stays in his face and he, you know, Javid is trying to get the takedowns, but he can't quite get the takedowns, and the judges are seeing he can't get the takedowns, and he's landing a little bit cleaner, but Victor is just kind of doubling his strikes in his face. This is one of those fights that could turn very, very weird, but I think Javid is a very smart dude in the octagon. I respect him, his intelligence. It feels like if the striking is close towards the end of each round, he knows I need to get a takedown, I need to get control, I need to solidify these rounds. He seems like a very high IQ guy in there, and I think that that's what's going to win him this fight, right? He should win the striking exchanges. He should be able to get a couple takedowns, but even if it's close, I think that he's smart enough to do enough to really grind, to get that takedown, to win rounds and win this fight. But, you know, Victor Henry is one of those guys. He is nonstop, so we'll see how it plays out. But I am taking Javid Basharat in this fight. No surprise. Should be a decision, but we'll see how. Muhammad Yahya versus Trevor Peek, and this is one of those this is one of those fights where everyone's really, really high on Trevor Peek. Right, you're going to see a lot of big bets. You're going to see a lot of this. A lot of people got him at dog money. I think Trevor Peek at dog money is a fantastic play. Trevor Peek is not that great. Trevor Peek gets hit. Trevor Peek is a very durable guy. You know, when they say like two things can be true at the same time, Trevor Peek is very durable. He's going to be very live in this matchup. He is going to be my pick in this matchup. I don't think you should play Trevor Peek money line. Let's just play inside the distance. Muhammad Yahya is a guy that when you watch him fight, he fights like that UFC Paris card. It drove us all insane because all those French guys, for the most part, fought very like methodical, very slow motion. They don't like people in their face. They don't like pressure. They like to take their time. And that's the way that he fights, which is definitely not the way that Trevor Peek fights in his fight. So he is not going to like the pressure of Trevor Peek, and Trevor Peek's going to do what he does. Blitz across, get in your face, hands low, throwing heavy. But I will say that Muhammad Yahya does have some sniping ability. He can get dropped, but I've seen him drop people in the past as well. And they're not the best people in the world, but I don't think you need to be the best person in the world to find a shot on Trevor Peek. His chin's going to be there. Why? I mean, you know how to hit pads. I mean, it's just like somebody just hold up a pad. Like, there it is. His chin is going to be there. Whether it holds up or not, we will see. I am going to take Trevor Peek in this matchup. I do have a little bit of a bet on him in this matchup, a little bit of inside the distance play. But I do worry a little bit because if he comes in thinking, I'm just going to steamroll this, yeah, he might. But this dude, Yahya, knows how to punch. He has dropped people in the past, and Trevor Peek's chin is going to be there on a platter. So this should be a wild fight. My pick is Trevor Peek. I just don't know if I'm quite as high as I've seen other people, but this is going to look either fantastic. This is one of those plays like Irina last week. Almost looked fantastic, planer. First round drop, boom, boom. But if this gets out of the first round, things will get a little bit weird, a little bit interesting. But Trevor Peek is my play. Let's move on to the next one. Tim Elliott versus Mohammad Mokaev. And I know a lot of people like Tim Elliott. And I get it, right? I mean, the guy is tough as shit. He's got crazy pressure, good striking. He probably is going to be a slightly better striker in this matchup, especially with this kind of awkward style. Could give Mokaev some issues. The issue is when it comes to Mokaev, and I know a lot of people are saying that he might be a fraud and this and that. He was almost got his knee taken out by Fiallo. He was taken down and kind of controlled a little bit in late with Malcolm Gordon. I think Mokaev likes chaos. When you kind of slow things down, I think that's where he starts struggling. I think a guy like Christian Rodriguez would kind of slow him down and be methodical and work through positions. I think he likes fighting these guys like Tim Elliott, like a Cody Durden, right? Cody Durden came out like a bat out of hell. He enjoyed that. He got that knee and then the guillotine finish. But I think Tim Elliott's aggression in this fight is what's going to cause him to run into some issues. Yeah, he might get a takedown early. He might get a takedown and some control. But Tim Elliott is not a guy that just kind of lays on people. He is looking for aggression. He is looking for finishes. Even in the striking, he is getting wild with the finishes. And I think Mokaev is going to like that. He's going to like the pressure. He's going to like the scrambles, the over-aggression. And when you're scrambling versus somebody and you're not just all defense, right? A lot of these people that fought Mokaev, like we saw with Charles Johnson, was all defense. And Mokaev really struggled to get something going against somebody that was all defense. Tim Elliott is all offense all the time. He's going to want to reverse and get back top position. And when you are aggressive and trying to reverse and sweep somebody as talented as Mokaev, that is when he finds stuff. That is when he gets in those positions to find submissions like he did with Malcolm Gordon. So, long story short here, I'm going Mokaev. I think that this is one of those fights where he reminds people who he really is against an aggressive grappler who should be the better striker as well. Now, Mokaev does do some stupid stuff. He does take some chances in the striking as well, but I think that in the wrestling and the grappling, he's going to enjoy Tim Elliott's pressure, find something in the scramble, find a submission win. Mohammad Mokaev is my play in this matchup. Saeed Nurmagomedov versus my guy Muin Gafurov. Muin was a former lock of the week. I know him well. He can be a relentless wrestler, and that is what he is going to need to be in this matchup. He is going to need to take the Saeed Yoku playbook, instill it, and do not get guillotined. That is the way to beat Saeed. I know Muin's got the striking as well. He's got some spinning stuff. Saeed's going to be the better striker in this matchup. He's going to be the cleaner striker, the more dangerous striker. It is going to be Muin who needs to get takedowns and control, but he's got to do that over 3 rounds. If he does it early, he definitely can win this fight. First round, second round, we've seen Saeed slow down in fights. The issue is Muin, with his takedowns, he can be a little bit, in my mind, a little too desperate for the takedowns. And when you become a little bit too desperate and you leave your neck out there just a little bit, Saeed is so good at snatching up those front chokes and will go all in chasing them. Now, if you're able to defend those, if you're able to give up your neck, almost kind of bait him into that to fall on his back, and you're able to keep that control, you can win this fight. Muin's going to be live in this fight. It's just, I think Saeed is just way too dangerous on the feet and with those front choke submissions. And Muin, to his credit, again, it's almost like the Tim Elliott thing. I think his aggression is going to be his downfall. He might have some success, just like Saeed or Saeed Yoku, just take down, and then whoops, now you're choked out. I think the same thing could happen here. If he wants to stand with Saeed Nurmagomedov, I think he could be in trouble as well. So my play is Saeed Nurmagomedov, although I do respect that Muin could come in and wrestle him for 2 rounds and then sneak out this decision. I'm going Saeed. I think he's just way too dangerous for a guy like Muin. Let's move on. Ikram versus Warlley Alves. I mean, this name is just Warlley Alves. It's really tough for me. Listen, Ikram's a big favorite. I think his inside the distance is minus 300. This is one of those ones where I've been looking at this fight, and I'm not going to put any action on Alves. I'm not going to put any money on Alves. I'm also not going to put any money on Ikram. I'm not going to put Ikram in parlays. I understand that he should come in, get the takedowns, get the control, maybe find a finish. I don't like his striking. I'll be honest with you. If you watch that Phil Hawes fight, and I know that Phil Hawes is a better striker than Alves will be in this fight, but I mean, Phil Hawes was, quite frankly, in his face, almost lighting him up at times. And Ikram found the shot, but his defensive striking, I didn't love. His offensive striking, I don't love. His takedowns, I really don't love his takedowns either. I think he kind of hangs out there a little bit. They're a little bit more, at times, a little bit more muscle than they could be technique. And Warlley Alves is one of those guys that is a veteran. He's been around. He was the Colby killer, caught Colby in a guillotine. I think the guillotine is going to be live in this matchup. Alves is also a guy that's been around. He has some decent power, especially against a guy like Ikram who can get hit. So I'm saying this right now. Ikram is my play, but minus 600, playing inside the distance, minus 300. Maybe that's the way it plays out, right? It should play out with those odds, but there's just something about Ikram that I just want to see it a little bit more before I start throwing him in all these big parlays with all these other favorites that I think are a little bit safer than a guy like Ikram. So I know a lot of people are high on Ikram. He is my pick in this matchup, but something feels Something feels a little bit weird about this fight. Let's move on to the next one. Makhachev versus Johnny Walker, former Lock of the Week Johnny Walker. And I really wanted to find a reason to pick Johnny Walker. And I've seen on Twitter, there's people that like Johnny Walker as an underdog in this match. I will say this. If he is not with John Kavanagh, if he is not that Johnny Walker that we saw versus Anthony Smith, if he almost is the Johnny Walker of old, I think that he's really live in this matchup because Ankalaev is a counter striker, and to be a counter striker, sometimes you get caught in those counter strikes. The issue is Johnny Walker has almost been encased. They took all the wild and they kind of encased him in this box to make him a better fighter. And that's worked in the last few fights against people that he's able to out-technique with his power as well. If he just stands in front of Ankalaev like he stood in front of Anthony Smith, he's just going to get fucked up is the way it is. You can't out-technique a guy like Ankalaev. And if he stands there and thinks, oh my God, I'm just going to blast these leg kicks just like Jan Blachowicz did. Maybe he can because he's got a little bit extra length than Jan. He should be the bigger guy in this match as far as like length goes. But Ankalaev knows what's coming. He's not an idiot. So if there's a situation where Johnny Walker is throwing blind leg kicks, the way he was throwing blind leg kicks against Anthony Smith, Ankalaev is going to be there with the counter. He's such a good counter striker, and he's got wrestling as well, and Johnny Walker can get taken down. So I will say this. I believe that Johnny Walker's best chance in this fight is to be wild. You have to be aggressive. You have to throw the wild stuff. You can't just stand in front of Ankalaev and expect to out-technique this guy. It just will not work. You're going to get picked apart, and you're probably going to get chinned in the process. So I would dance around. I would do the wild stuff. Try to catch your power. Johnny Walker has real power. Try to catch that power on an unorthodox shot, because standing in front of him with the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s is not going to work. You're not going to be the better striker. So my pick is Ankalaev in this matchup, but I think Johnny Walker is going to be live, but he's going to be live in like a weird Johnny Walker fashion, right? I mean, pretty much anybody at 205 is going to be live. They're all big dudes with big punching power. I just think Ankalaev is just going to pick him apart. Ankalaev typically, I don't want to say typically, it's kind of 50-50. He's more of a decision fighter in my mind against kind of high-level guys. Johnny Walker, I think, is a high-level guy. I think Ankalaev comes in, wins a decision, but we'll see how it plays out. It's up to Johnny Walker. I am taking Ankalaev in this matchup. Kamaru Usman versus Khamzat Chimaev. And this one is going to be very interesting. And I'll be completely honest with you. When I heard of this announcement, you guys know I was all over Leon Edwards for both the Usman fights. I am a notable and honest Usman hater. I cannot stand the guy. So when I saw that this fight was announced, I said, oh my God, Chimaev is going to absolutely smoke this old man because he's broken down. He's worn down. He ain't got it anymore. Chimaev's going to take him down and submit him in the first 3 minutes. Then I started watching some film. Then I started remembering who Usman is, and I'm telling you right now, this is going to be an absolute dogfight. And my pick is going to be Chimaev, but I'm telling you right now, everyone that thinks Chimaev is going to come through and smoke Usman is going to be very, very worried when this hits late second round and into the third round. You guys start doing math on your little fingers of like, I think he won the first. And this is my prediction right here. If Chimaev does not win the first round, if he obviously gets a finish, great. But if he does not win the first round of this fight, he is in big, big trouble because Usman is a guy that is going to be a very high intelligent fighter in this matchup. Usman is going to be a guy that is going to be the better striker in this matchup. Usman is going to be a guy that can defend the takedowns of Chimaev. You saw Chimaev come in against Gilbert Burns, work really hard to get a takedown early in that fight. Usman is going to have better takedown defense than Gilbert Burns, and even after that, Chimaev had to work so hard that he kind of abandoned the wrestling in that fight. And if he abandons the wrestling in this matchup, Usman now has the advantage. That Usman jab is no joke. I rewatched a few fights, and I know a lot of people will be like, oh, his knees, he's old now, he's washed up. I disagree. That jab is always going to be there. There's some real pop behind it. Chimaev was already getting touched up by Gilbert Burns. Kamaru Usman is 5 times the striker that Gilbert Burns is, with even double the amount of power that he has. I think there's going to be a moment here where Chimaev is going to be like, oh shit. And everyone that bet on Chimaev is going to be like, oh shit. The issue is, up in weight with Kamaru, with the age, with the short notice, traveling across the world, I think that there is a world where Chimaev, and this is why I'm picking him, right? I think it's a dog fight. I think it's a close fight. But I do believe that Chimaev can slightly outwork him just by staying on his hips, just by grinding with the takedown attempts, with the takedown. Maybe he gets him down, Usman gets up. Maybe he gets him down, Usman gets up. But if Chimaev decides to fight this fight like the Gilbert Burns fight, he is going to lose the striking in this matchup. I think Usman can hurt this guy. My pick is going to be Chimaev. I'm telling you right now, I believe, and I flipped 100%. I believe that this is going to be a dogfight. This could be a split decision. This could be a close one. And I would not be surprised if Usman comes in and steals this decision. But my pick is going to be Chimaev. I'm sticking with my guns. I think he can do enough with the resilient wrestling style to win a couple rounds. But this one could be very interesting. I hope it is. It should be fun, the co-main event. Let's move on to the main event. Islam versus Volkanovski. And this one, in my mind, is a little bit more cut and dry than the first matchup. Listen, I have all the respect in the world for Alexander Volkanovski. That guy is one of one. When you talk about the championship mentality and being a competitor, Volkanovski is everything that every single UFC fighter fucking thinks that they are. Everyone talks the talk and, oh, I'll do this and I'll do that and I compete like this and I'll work hard like this. Nobody is on the level of Alexander Volkanovski. He is like Michael Jordan. He is like Kobe Bryant, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Usain Bolt, Tiger Woods, like all these very high-level, top 1% mentality athletes. That is who Alexander Volkanovski is. So, yeah, I think he is probably live in this matchup. The difference is the first fight, this dude had an entire camp to get ready. I think that first fight went very, very good for him. He was winning some striking exchanges, doing enough in the grappling. I think if that fight is in Vegas, he probably wins that decision because Islam wasn't doing a whole lot with his control. The issue is he did all of that, was already, everything seemed to go almost perfectly for him, and he still lost that fight. Now he's coming in, short notice. He says he's been on holidays, and maybe he's sandbagging us, but he says he's been on holidays. He says he's been drinking. He says, like, you know what? We're just going to see what happens. And if there's anyone that can come off the couch on 10 days' notice and beat a guy like Islam, it is going to be Alexander Volkanovski. In my mind, I think that he just goes for it. He knows, like, hey, I don't want to mess around for 5 rounds with this guy in this guy's backyard, and I haven't had the cardio. I can go 5 rounds, but let me just see what happens here. Let me go out on my shield. Let me get in this dude's face, see what happens, and I think we're going to see what happens. And the issue is, even in that first fight when Volkanovski was in Islam's face, Islam, in a fight where Islam should have been losing most of the striking exchanges, he won a lot more than I think people realize. If you go rewatch that fight, he was really winning some really good striking exchanges versus Volkanovski. He has some real power, and if Volkanovski comes in and gets too aggressive, I think Islam can really hurt him and then kind of grind him out. I don't know if he's going to finish Volkanovski, but he may hurt him early enough to where he kind of gets worn down. He can grind after that. So my play here is going to be Islam. I'm going to be rooting for Volkanovski. I think he absolutely goes for it in the first round. Not like crazy, but crazy pressure, crazy pace, gets in the face, sees what happens. But I think Islam can kind of weather that storm, get him to the ground, kind of grind him out, and Volkanovski just isn't going to have the gas tank that he had in that first fight to kind of steal those rounds later. So my official pick is Islam. I'll be rooting for Volkanovski. I think most people are going to be rooting for Volkanovski, but this has been my full card breakdown for UFC 294. Make sure you like the video again. Subscribe to this channel and our main channel, We Want Picks. Go to WeWantPicks.com. Consider becoming a premium member today. It's only $10 a month. You get a whole bunch of stuff. The website will tell you what you get. My name is Jacob, a.k.a. The Freckle Salamander, and I'm out.